New Kid on the Block versus Bart's Girlfriend, the battle over Bart's tortured love life. Both provide great insights into the world of childhood crushes, but you can only choose one. Which is the better episode? We've done showdowns for Grandpa Romance episodes and Homer's Many Temptations, so naturally Bart should get his turn at the wheel. I mean, it's not like Bart hasn't had his share of dating episodes. This kid's had so many bad run-ins with girls, we should start calling him Little Mo Sislak. With New Kid on the Block and Bart's Girlfriend, we have two doomed Bart romances for completely different reasons. Do we like Bart's more childish, unrequited crush on Laura Powers, or his messy and toxic relationship with Jessica Lovejoy? As always, we'll start with the older episode first, which coincidentally has the older love interest. This is the case for New Kid on the Block. New Kid on the Block, situated right smack in the middle of that season 4 goodness. An era of the show that was getting bouncier and sillier, but still had one foot in the warmer, character-driven stories of the early years. It's good, solid storytelling, packed to the gills with classic Conan O'Brien jokes. New Kid on the Block is the superior episode because it is more relatable and down-to-earth. The other episode is about a very specific kind of relationship and specific personalities, whereas this one feels universal, these unrequited crushes that kids develop. This definitely skews younger overall, but I think that's one of its biggest strengths. It treats Bart's curiosity about girls more earnestly, giving us multiple scenes of Bart asking people like Grandpa or Homer for advice. This episode would spend the time to give Homer this hilarious platform about how women are like a refrigerator or like a beer. It captures, at that young age, how kids will latch on to these little interactions, making them never want to wash that hand forever. It's so cute how much Bart likes Laura, but doesn't have anything resembling game yet. The kid is getting friend-zoned so hard, and he can't do anything about it because he's so much younger than her. This brings me to my second point. New Kid on the Block is superior because Laura is a better character than Jessica Lovejoy. Jessica was written to be a reflection of Bart, kinda like Mindy Simmons for Homer. Whereas Laura feels more like a genuine person that one could meet. She's written with a relaxed, mischievous charm, where it's easy to understand why Bart falls for her so hard. She's that cool kid who wears an army jacket, plays video games, but still speaks so politely to adults. Sarah Gilbert gives the perfect performance here, her voice giving Laura the detached chill the character needs. Both stories are strictly told from Bart's point of view, but since Laura is a more carefully developed character, it's easier to see things from her perspective. Yeah, we could be like, what the hell, Laura, in terms of her obliviousness and insensitivity, that she doesn't seem to notice or care how much Bart is crushing on her. But we can all remember what it was like being 15 or whatever, and how you viewed someone who's 10. The fact that a relationship with Laura is so unattainable for Bart makes it a more nuanced conflict. Laura's not bad, she just doesn't see him that way. Don't worry, Bart, there is always more fish in the sea. Oh, speaking of which, I think we all know where this is going. New Kid on the Block has to be the superior episode because it has the Frying Dutchman B-plot. Normally here's where I'd be diplomatically saying that this episode has more variety and the other one is laser focused. But nah, this seafood B-plot is straight up amazing and is a huge feather in its cap. Homer and Marge barely have anything to do in the other one. Whereas here, they balance out all the down-to-earth Bart-Laura stuff with a cuckoo bananas fight over an all-you-can-eat buffet. The premise is so perfect for Homer's character, it kind of feels like it writes itself. But the execution is so strong, immediately getting Lionel Hutz involved, complaining about the never-ending story and telling Homer he's the greatest hero in American history. That hilarious courtroom testimony from Marge, where she tearfully recounts their night. Marge is absolutely perfect in this. I encourage everyone to just watch Marge's reactions the entire time. They're so funny. As a whole, it's the perfect B-plot for this kind of episode. It's a change of pace tonally, and it provides a good excuse for Homer and Marge to hire a babysitter. The other episode didn't go for a subplot, which is fine, but unfortunately, it never reaches the ridiculous comedic heights that this seafood B-plot has. That's Conan O'Brien for you. You're just not going to beat him in this category. New Kid on the Block is that perfect marriage of a down-to-earth and relatable story concept with an utterly cuckoo bananas subplot. Neither story ever feels at odds with each other, they balance each other perfectly. I'm going to leave things there for now, as I don't want to infuriate Jessica Lovejoy any further. She's a scary person. Everyone, let's all keep an eye on the church collection plate, because this is the case for Bart's girlfriend. Alright, so it was really cute how we just heard about how relatable and down to earth the other episode is, and then dropped the bombshell of a cool B-plot. That's neat, I'll grant that the seafood buffet is fun. But the thing is, there's a reason why that episode needed a B-plot and Bart's girlfriend didn't. Bart's girlfriend is better because there's more action to the story. Like, barely anything happens in the other episode. After the intro, it's a bunch of sitting around, pining after Laura, and then getting all jealous. Whereas Bart's girlfriend takes us through the twists and turns of a real relationship. It's not eternally stuck in the unrequited crush phase, there's actual progression to it. First, we get Bart trying desperately to impress the goody-goody pastor's daughter, then realizing he and Jessica have so much in common, then realizing he is in way, way, way over his head. It's extremely well paced. Every step of the way, we learn just a little more about what Jessica thinks of Bart. It never feels stagnant. Her stealing from the collection plate works well as a culmination of their toxic relationship. It's a way better ending than LOL Jimbo cried. In addition, there is literally more action to the story. They have scenes like this one, a montage of Bart and Jessica making their mark on Springfield, pulling the fire alarm, and Willie saving the wee turtles. I think these kinds of animated romance episodes result in a lot of chilling and sitting around, and is refreshing that Bart's girlfriend always keeps the action moving. Secondly, Bart's girlfriend is a better episode because Jessica Lovejoy is more interesting than Laura Powers. Sure, you could argue that Jessica was designed to be a reflection of Bart's character, but that's exactly why she's so compelling. How would Bart react to someone even more extreme than him? What does that say about Bart's character? These are Bart's stories, his reactions should be driving things. I like that Jessica shows both sides of his personality, that he starts out faking good behavior, then lets loose with Jessica, and ends the episode trying to be good again. Or at least better than Jessica. Jessica Lovejoy is so dang mysterious, and that's what makes her such a compelling romantic interest. She's always keeping things close to the vest. We never know what she's gonna do next. Meryl Streep performs the character like she's some kind of woodland fairy trickster. We're not meant to relate to Jessica, she exists to teach a lesson about the things people do for love. Bart washing the church steps for her and laughing about the half-assed job he's gonna do, that's such a hilarious and thoughtful way to end things. Jessica puts both Bart and the audience through the ringer and makes the end result more substantial. The main thesis is always clear. And finally, the third reason why Bart's girlfriend is better is because it uses its entire cast better. This is fundamentally a Bart relationship story, but they do a great job using different locations to get more characters involved, using the church as a main set piece with the Lovejoys and the congregants, getting the school characters involved with Bart's prank on Willie and the fire alarm later, the opening set piece with the kids playing before a church. Homer and Marge have less to do overall, but even they get in some memorable quips. I think it's telling how, instead of making Lisa merely a spectator like in the other episode, Bart's girlfriend gives her a bully pulpit to call out Jessica. The other episode feels too claustrophobic, primarily sticking to Simpson household and courtroom stuff. Bart's girlfriend takes full advantage of its large cast of characters and doesn't force Bart to carry the whole adventure on his own. It has a well-balanced cast, a smartly constructed story, excellent pacing, and a super compelling antagonist. It's the complete package. How can Bart's girlfriend not be the winner here? Are we really going to ignore all the things it does better for a funny B-plot about an all-you-can-eat buffet? Well, we shall see. Let's go to the verdict. Gotta say, the more I look at these two episodes, the more it reminds me of the very first showdown between Colonel Homer and the Last Temptation of Homer. We have a very charming and character-driven Gene and Reese episode versus a wispier and headier David Merkin affair. These episodes are so representative of Season 4 and Season 6's styles that it kind of feels like we're making a decision on which era is better overall. So I feel really mixed about the Jessica Lovejoy argument, in that I do think that Laura Powers is a better character overall, and that our episode actually spends time to let the audience get to know her. As a result, we understand Bart's infatuation better and can be more personally interested in them. It's not a cheap, love at first sight kind of deal. The issue with Jessica's mysteriousness is that you can feel the writers pull the strings with her, that her personality was deliberately crafted to test Bart. As a result, she feels more gimmicky than Laura, less organic as a whole. On the other hand, the problem with Laura Powers is that they struggle in finding where the story should go. The plot is so self-defeating in how Bart and Laura aren't going to get together in Act 3. They have to find and develop some kind of internal victory for Bart to feel. So they threw together this Jimbo ending, which has always felt weak and unconvincing. I get it, Laura sees through his tough guy facade now, but what is this ending really paying off with Bart's character arc? Is this moment enough to be satisfying? Jessica Lovejoy is more shallow and gimmicky than Laura Powers, but her actions push Bart to a more interesting decision point. I don't really care for the evil woman or evil man trope in romance stories, but with a prankster like Bart as protagonist, I think it works here. As for the jokes, this is a battle over how consistent you like things. My gut instinct is that New Kid on the Block is the funnier episode overall, because goddamn is that B-plot funny. But there are moments that can drag humor-wise that aren't present in the other episode. The jokes in Bart's Girlfriend, while never hitting those high highs, are more bite-sized and consistent. There's a lot of smaller jokes I like in this one. It's the old high highs versus consistency debate. However, if I had to choose only one of these episodes, I think I would go with Bart's Girlfriend. This ended up being kind of an upset for me, as I was ready to vote for New Kid on the Block after the first two viewings. I think I was getting bored by Bart's Girlfriend over time, as that final statement loses some punch after repeat viewings. But it's the two endings that ended up clinching things for me. New Kid on the Block is more of a hangout episode, not as tightly plotted as Bart's Girlfriend. And don't get me wrong, that's not a negative. I love these relaxing, character-driven affairs. But those kinds of stories really have to stick the landing with its character arcs. And the Jimbo ending, while decently funny, doesn't pay off Bart's story very well. He's not in the episode enough for his defeat to feel impactful, and this moment between Bart and Laura doesn't feel as earned as I wish it did. Whereas Bart's Girlfriend always feels like it knows where it's going, has a stronger sense of its overall thesis. I do love the twists and turns it takes the audience through, how much Jessica toys with Bart's emotions. I feel like I've really gone through a roller coaster relationship by the end of it. Sure, it doesn't have the big belly-busting laughs that Conan O'Brien can provide, but Bart's Girlfriend's jokes are more thoughtful and fit the themes better. It's a super close call and depends a little on my mood, but for me, Bart's Girlfriend is the more complete package. Let me know in the comments where you landed on this one. Did I end up falling for one of Jessica Lovejoy's many tricks, or did I manage to get it right this time? Also, why did they never bring back Laura or Jessica in speaking roles? I mean, they brought back Sophie Krastovsky. Both would have been good additions to the cast of kid characters. Go figure. But as for these two episodes, this case is closed.